West Philadelphia born and raised, on the playground was where he spent most of his days. But how did those days translate to Bel-Air mansions and enduring TV fame? 3 decades after its debut, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air remains a cultural touchstone. It launched Will Smith's career and became a sitcom powerhouse, racking up awards and captivating audiences. But behind the laughter, there's a bittersweet truth. Not all the cast members who brought those iconic characters to life will be joining the upcoming reboot. Let's take a trip down memory lane and explore the legacy of The Fresh Prince, while remembering the talented actors we've lost along the way. James Avery as Philip Banks. James Avery had that incredible voice, a deep rumble you couldn't forget. And that face? You'd recognize it from everywhere. He started out acting in plays before landing TV roles in the 80s. Back then, he played a lot of serious characters. Cops, judges, you name it, on shows like L.A. Law. He brought a real weight to these roles, for sure. But his breakout role, Uncle Phil on The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. This is where he played Will's successful uncle, a no-nonsense businessman with a big heart. Uncle Phil wasn't afraid to set Will straight, but you always knew he cared. He was kind of like a strict, but secretly funny, dad for Will, always offering guidance, and maybe some tough love too. Their on-screen chemistry was awesome. James Avery was super versatile, though. He could do it all. Live-action acting, voice acting in cartoons, even commercials. No matter the role, he brought his signature charm to it. Even after Fresh Prince ended, he kept acting in shows like The Closer. Sadly, we lost James Avery in 2013 at the age of 68. Virginia Capers as Hattie Banks. Hollywood couldn't contain Virginia Capers. The Tony Award-winning actress started her career belting out tunes on the Yiddish stage, a far cry from the glitz and glam she'd later encounter. Born in South Carolina in 1925, Virginia went on to study at Howard University and even secured a coveted spot at the Juilliard School. Her career took a surprising turn when she landed a gig with a band leader in the 50s. This led to radio work and national tours, showcasing her singing talent. By the late 50s, she was on Broadway, though initially in smaller roles. Her big break came in 1974 with the lead role in Raisin, a musical based on the famous play A Raisin in the Sun. Her incredible performance earned her a Tony Award, the highest honor in Broadway theater. This opened doors for her in Hollywood. Despite facing typecasting, Virginia brought her talent and grace to every role, often playing mothers and housekeepers. You might remember her from shows like The Waltons, The Golden Girls, and even a recurring role as Aunt Hattie on The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Sadly, we lost Virginia Capers in 2004 at the age of 78. Sherman Hemsley as Judge Carl Robertson. Sherman Hemsley, the man who brought the iconic George Jefferson to life on The Jeffersons, left us in 2012 after a battle with lung cancer at the age of 74. Even celebrities like Lenny Kravitz, whose own mother co-starred on the show, recognized Hemsley's impact. Kravitz called him a legend who totally changed American culture with his acting. Hemsley's journey with George Jefferson began in 1973 on the groundbreaking sitcom All in the Family. His portrayal was so captivating that it led to his own spin-off, The Jeffersons, which ran for a successful 10 years. The character of George was so ingrained in pop culture that Hemsley reprised the role for guest appearances on shows like ER and even crossed paths with Will Smith's character in The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air in a hilarious couples therapy session. Interestingly, Hemsley wasn't just known for his portrayal of the sophisticated George Jefferson. Before stepping into those iconic shoes, he played a different role in the Fresh Prince universe, the exasperated judge who couldn't handle Will's signature sass. His comedic talents also shined on another hit show, Sister, Sister, where his co-star, Jackie Harry, fondly remembered him as both a comedic legend and a close friend. John Wesley as Dr. Hoover. John Wesley's comedic brilliance as Dr. Hoover on The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was undeniable, but his life and career encompassed far more than that iconic role. A Vietnam War veteran, Wesley brought depth and experience to his acting. He wasn't just a funny guy, he was a seasoned performer who thrived on both stage and screen. Beyond The Fresh Prince, audiences enjoyed his work in shows like NCIS and Frasier, showcasing his comedic range. Moviegoers might recognize him from films like Stop or My Mom Will Shoot and The Little Rascals, further highlighting his versatility. John Wesley's story is a testament to the power of dedication and talent. He built a successful career by consistently honing his craft and captivating audiences with his performances. Sadly, the world lost this gifted actor on September 8, 2019, in Los Angeles, California. His legacy, however, lives on through the characters he brought to life. Nia Rivera, as Cindy Nia Rivera's star potential, shone brightly from a young age. At just 4 years old, she landed a starring role in the sitcom The Royal Family, showcasing her talent early on. Though the show's run was tragically cut short, Nia persevered, appearing in shows like The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and Family Matters. These roles paved the way for her breakout performance as Santana Lopez on the musical series Glee, which debuted in 2009. Through this role, Nia captivated audiences with her exceptional acting and singing talents, becoming a groundbreaking figure for LGBTQ+ representation. In 2020, the world was struck by a heartbreaking tragedy. While boating with her young son, Nia went missing under mysterious circumstances. An extensive search ensued, but ultimately Nia was found to have passed away. Investigators believe she displayed immense courage, using her last ounce of strength to ensure her son's safety. Dick Clark as himself. Dick Clark was a huge deal for American pop music. His show, American Bandstand, was massive for decades, bringing rock and roll to everyone's homes and changing how young people saw themselves. He wasn't just about rock and roll, though. He liked all sorts of music and gave it a chance to shine on his shows. He even threw some of the biggest music parties, like the American Music Awards and that crazy New Year's Eve countdown in Times Square. A stroke slowed him down a bit later in life, but by then he was already a legend. He left a giant mark on music that will never be forgotten. Rest in peace, Dick Clark. Sadly, on April 18, 2012, Clark died from a heart attack at a hospital in Santa Monica, California, shortly after undergoing a transurethral resection procedure to treat an enlarged prostate. He was 82 years old, Heavy D as himself. Raised on R&B but drawn to the energy of the burgeoning rap scene, Heavy D found his voice by blending the two. This young artist from Mount Vernon, New York, formed Heavy D and the Boys, a crew that would change the course of hip-hop. Born in '67, he moved to the States young and grew up surrounded by R&B. By his teens, hip-hop was the hot new sound, and Heavy D wasn't gonna miss out. He and his friends, DJ Eddie F., T-Roy, and G-Wiz, formed Heavy D and the Boys. Their sound was a mashup of rap and R&B, something fresh that caught the ear of a music exec named Andre Harrell. Heavy D and the Boys became the first crew signed to Harrell's new label, Uptown Records. Heavy D even ended up running the place for a while. Their debut album, Living Large, dropped in 1987 and blew up. They kept the hits coming with albums like Big Time and Blue Funk, helping to create a whole new style called New Jack Swing. Heavy D's talents went beyond rapping. He later became a big shot at Universal Music and even tried his hand at acting in movies. The world tragically lost Heavy D in 2011 at the way too young age of 44. But his impact on hip-hop is undeniable. Glenn Shadek says Ralph Scorpius. Life threw a lot at Glenn Shadek. He went through something awful as a teenager, lost someone close to him, and even his new house in Alabama burned down in 2008. Things seemed pretty rough, but even with all that bad luck, Glenn managed to build a cool acting career. He changed his name to Glenn Shadek and started out in a movie called The Postman Always Rings Twice. That didn't do so well, but then he landed a fantastic part in Tim Burton's movie Beetlejuice. He played Otho, the fancy interior decorator who messed around with ghosts. Not a great idea. This role opened doors for Glenn. He worked with Tim Burton again on movies like The Nightmare Before Christmas and Planet of the Apes. He also landed parts on shows like Seinfeld and did voice acting for cartoons like Teen Titans and Justice League Unlimited. He definitely made his mark in Hollywood. Sadly, things took another tough turn in 2010. Glenn had an accident at his home in Alabama and fell. He already had trouble getting around, and the fall ended up being fatal. He passed away at the age of 58. His family, including his mom, sister, and brother-in-law, all missed him dearly. Tony Longo as Otis. Tony Longo's imposing stature, 6 feet 6 inches, 250 pounds, made him a natural for athletic roles on TV and in films, but he also shined in more sensitive, gentle giant parts. Fans remember him as Mad Dog in HBO's First and 10 and Stump in NBC's Helltown. Breaking into TV in the early 80s, Longo was a regular on CBS's Alice. He continued to land roles in series and TV movies, with a standout performance in Young at Heart. His film career included Pink Motel, 16 Candles, and Bloodhounds of Broadway. From 1999 to 2006, he recurred on The Young and the Restless. Longo continued working until his untimely death in his sleep at his home in Marina del Rey, California, on June 21, 2015, at the age of 53. His towering presence and versatile performances left a lasting impression on audiences. Gregory Sierra as Hector. Tall and skinny with a serious look, he had a tough life starting out. Abandoned by his parents when he was young, he found an outlet in acting. He even trained at fancy theaters like the National Shakespeare Company, but things took a different turn. In the late 60s, Gregory started acting on TV. At first, he was mostly stuck playing Latino characters that weren't very interesting, but Gregory was a talented actor, and people started to notice. His role as Julio, the neighbor on Sanford and Son, made him a familiar face across America. Gregory wasn't afraid to take risks. He did serious dramas like Hill Street Blues and even some wacky shows like Soap and Vampires. No matter what kind of role he played, he always brought his all. He could do it all: drama, comedy, even a little weirdness. Throughout his career, Gregory proved himself to be a super versatile actor who could handle anything. Sadly, he passed away in 2021 at the age of 84. Howard Mann as Mr. Gorodetsky. After working in advertising, Mann decided to give comedy a shot. He started out performing at resorts in the Catskills, which was a popular spot for comedians at the time. This led him to bigger gigs on TV shows like Laverne and Shirley and Alice. You might have even seen him in classic movies like Mr. Saturday Night. But David wasn't just a TV guy. He also did stand-up routines on shows like The Merv Griffin Show and even The Tonight Show. He even took his talents to the stage, playing historical figures like George Washington and acting in plays like The Odd Couple. Always up for a challenge, David even created a rap routine for senior citizens in the 80s. Talk about being versatile. Sadly, David passed away in 2008, but he left behind a legacy of laughter. Al Fan as Herman Clifford. Al Fan started out in acting in the 1970s. You might recognize him from a crime film classic, The French Connection. He wasn't just on screen, though. His unique voice landed him voice acting gigs in cartoons like Challenge of the Super Friends and even The Chipmunks, showing his range. By the 80s, he was starring in his own TV show, the fun-sounding He's the Mayor. The 90s proved just as busy. He landed roles in movies alongside big names like Robin Williams in The Fisher King and even appeared with Al Pacino and Michelle Pfeiffer in Frankie and Johnny. He wasn't afraid to switch things up either, taking on the role of a detective in the crime drama Bodies of Evidence. Though Al Fan sadly passed away in 2018, he left behind a remarkable legacy. From big-screen crime dramas to voicing iconic cartoon characters, his career shows his talent and versatility. Tom ORourke as Jameson Whitworth. Tom ORourke has been a familiar face on our screens for years, making a mark with his versatile acting skills. Early in his career, he leaned towards serious dramatic roles, notably appearing in the biographical drama Patty Hearst. However, the 90s saw a shift in his repertoire as he embraced comedy, with memorable appearances in popular shows like The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Step by Step, and Shaky Ground. In more recent years, ORourke transitioned back to the big screen, featuring in hits like Made in Manhattan alongside J-Lo, the gripping United 93, and the Denzel Washington crime drama American Gangster. Despite his film success, he remained true to his television roots, with roles on shows like Law and Order, Special Victims Unit, and a recent part in the sports comedy The Laughing Matter. Throughout his diverse career, Tom ORourke entertained audiences across genres and mediums. Sadly, he passed away from cancer on March 11, 2024, leaving behind a legacy of memorable performances. Gilbert Lewis as Joe Banks. Throughout his illustrious career, British director Lewis Gilbert fearlessly tackled a range of challenging subjects, earning a reputation as a master storyteller. While he is particularly renowned for his war films, it was his biopic, Reach for the Sky, about the legless aviator Douglas Bader, that cemented his place in cinematic history. In the 1950s, Gilbert produced and directed a string of notable films, including crime noirs like The Good Die Young and Cast a Dark Shadow, as well as war movies such as The Sea Shall Not Have Them, Reach for the Sky, and Carve Her Name with Pride. He continued his success with films like the thrilling Sink the Bismarck and HMS Defiant. In the 1980s, he directed adaptations of Willie Russell plays, including Educating Rita and Shirley Valentine. Gilbert remained active in the industry well into the 1990s and 2000s, directing films like Stepping Out, Haunted, and Before You Go. Sadly, the talented director passed away on May 7, 2015, in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, leaving behind a remarkable cinematic legacy. Armelia McQueen as Judge. McQueen kicked things off with some killer movie roles. Remember Ghost with Patrick Swayze? She totally stole the show as Whoopi Goldberg's sister. She wasn't afraid to show her funny side, but McQueen could also bring the drama, like in Bulworth with Warren Beatty. But McQueen wasn't just a movie queen. Nope, she slayed the small screen too. Remember the sassy Red Queen in Adventures in Wonderland? That was her, and that role totally deserved an award. Seriously, she got nominated for a Cable Ace Award for that one. Even later in her career, she was still making us laugh on shows like Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Sadly, the world lost this talented lady in 2019. But even though she's gone, her performances are still out there, reminding us of her incredible range and infectious energy. She was a true inspiration, especially for aspiring black actors and actresses, showing them that with talent and hard work, you can totally rock Hollywood. Helen Page Camp as Margaret Firth. Hollywood at 38, Helen Page Camp proved age is just a number. Many actors consider their careers to peak early, but Helen Page Camp defied expectations. By the 1970s, Camp was gracing screens alongside the legendary Norman Lear on his groundbreaking show All in the Family. She went on to portray a range of characters, from Tanya Terwilliger on The Tony Randall Show to the title character's mother on Richie Brockelman Private Eye. In 1990, Camp brought her comedic timing to life as Margaret Firth on the first season of The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Her final television role was Hope Lacey in the MacGyver episode Faith, Hope, and Charity. Sadly, Camp died in Los Angeles, California after a stroke on August 1, 1991, at the age of 60. Hugh Dayne as Fred Lomax Jr. Patience and perseverance paid off for Hugh Dayne. Though his big break arrived later in life, Dayne built a steady career with diverse roles. From guest spots on iconic 90s sitcoms to memorable appearances in films like Ricochet and Bridesmaids, Dayne left his mark on Hollywood. Even after Rock ended, Dayne's hustle continued. He brought his talents to shows like Friends and Sister Sister. He wasn't limited to TV either, appearing in films like the chilling Joyride. Dayne's ability to seamlessly switch between genres was impressive. He landed parts on detective dramas like Monk and political dramas like The West Wing before finding his iconic role as security guard Hank on the American The Office. While never the main attraction, Dayne brought a sense of stability as the grounded foil to the show's wacky characters. His understated humor in scenes like the infamous Dwight's speech is a perfect example. He even balanced his television work with film roles in comedies like Little Fockers and Bridesmaids, showcasing his versatility. Sadly, Dayne passed away in 2018 in Los Angeles. Macon McCalman as Dr. Baylor from stern judge to goofy neighbor, Nick "Sonny" McCalman mastered the art of transformation. This Korean War veteran wasn't just another Hollywood face. He was a chameleon, captivating audiences for 4 decades on Broadway, film, and television. After serving his country, Macon McCalman embarked on a remarkable acting career that stretched over 4 decades. He possessed a rare talent for transformation, embodying a wide range of characters with remarkable believability. One moment, he could command respect as a judge in a courtroom drama. The next, he'd have audiences roaring with laughter as a quirky neighbor in a sitcom. This versatility made him a shining star on Broadway, in Hollywood films, and on television. McCalman's big-screen debut came in the 1972 thriller Deliverance, and he continued to impress with memorable roles in films like The Falcon and the Snowman and Fried Green Tomatoes. Sadly, the world lost this talented actor in 2005 when he passed away, just shy of his 73rd birthday. Earl Bowen as Ed. The transition from Terminator villain to sitcom regular? That was just another day for Earl Bowen. Bowen's impressive career spanned over 200 roles, proving he could be both menacing and hilarious, leaving his mark everywhere from the big screen to beloved animated shows. Bowen honed his skills on stage before gracing the silver screen in the late 1970s. From the very beginning, he embraced a wide range of characters, showcasing his comedic timing alongside legends like Steve Martin. He brought recurring characters to life on shows like Who's the Boss and Newhart, leaving a lasting impression on viewers. His talents extended to animation as well, where he voiced characters in beloved series like Justice League. Sadly, Bowen was diagnosed with lung cancer in the fall of 2022. He died in Hawaii on January 5, 2023, at the age of 81. Richard Roundtree as Dr. Mumford. Before Shaft, Hollywood hadn't seen a private eye quite like him. Richard Roundtree shattered stereotypes and launched a genre with his portrayal of the impeccably dressed, swaggering John Shaft. This wasn't just a movie. It was a cultural phenomenon. Roundtree's journey to stardom wasn't typical either. He excelled in sports, but eventually found his calling as a fashion model and later, an actor. Shaft became a mega hit, reviving MGM's fortunes and solidifying Roundtree as a star. He proved his versatility with roles in Roots and Being Mary Jane, leaving a legacy as a pioneering actor who entertained audiences for decades. Despite battling male breast cancer and pancreatic cancer, Roundtree continued acting until his passing in 2023. He left behind a legacy as a trailblazing actor who broke barriers and entertained audiences for decades. Eric Christmas as Cecil. Eric Christmas was a versatile actor who could seamlessly switch from playing dignified Shakespearean roles to comedic characters like the bumbling lawyer in Mouse Hunt. Trained at the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art, he brought a remarkable presence to every role, whether in serious films like The Philadelphia Experiment or in scene-stealing comedic turns. In 1948, Chrismas moved to Canada and started a successful collaboration with television comedians Johnny Wayne and Frank Schuster, playing the character Madam Hooperdink. During the 1950s, his own production, Christmas is Coming, toured extensively across Canada. In 1954, he served as the artistic director at the Ottawa Repertory Company and managed the Peterborough Summer Theatre. From 1957 onwards, Christmas became closely associated with Canada's prestigious Stratford Festival, appearing in 12 seasons and 21 Shakespearean productions until 1970. He played a significant role in shaping Stratford's formative years, working alongside veteran actors such as William Hutt, Tony Van Bridge, Jean Gascon, Douglas Rain, Amelia Hall, and Mervyn Blake. His final performance at Stratford was in 1987, portraying Dogberry in Much Ado About Nothing. Throughout his career, Chrismas also worked with the Canadian Players, San Diego's Globe Theatre, and the drama department at the University of California, San Diego. He had 2 children, Robin and Stephen, with his first wife, and 2 more children with his second wife, along with 6 grandchildren. He passed away on July 22, 2000, from natural causes at the age of 84. Pat Crawford Brown as Lady. After years dedicated to teaching, Pat Brown decided to pursue her acting dreams in her 50s, proving that it's never too late to reinvent yourself. She began her acting career in 1985, landing roles on iconic shows like The Twilight Zone and bringing laughs on sitcoms like Who's the Boss? She even faced off against flesh-eating plants in the cult classic Cannibal Women in the Avocado Jungle of Death. The 90s were a golden era for Brown, with regular appearances on Murphy Brown, Coach, and a memorable role as Sister Agnes on Days of Our Lives. Her comedic talents shone in movies like Stuck on You and Norbit, but it was her unforgettable portrayal of Ida Greenberg on Desperate Housewives that solidified her place in pop culture. Pat Brown lived a life full of laughter and left an indelible mark on Hollywood. She spent her final days at the Motion Picture and Television Country House and Hospital in Woodland Hills, California, passing away on July 2, 2019, just 3 days after her 90th birthday. Her journey reminds us that dreams have no expiration date, and it's never too late to follow your passion. John Petlock as Henry Firth. Character actor John Petlock had a steady, albeit relatively short, career in TV and film, with his most notable role in the popular drama Dallas. Petlock started his career with a few TV appearances before landing a recurring role on Dallas in 1978. He played Dan Marsh in a story arc that spanned several episodes of the show's first season. Although this high-profile role didn't lead to many other major parts, Petlock remained a consistent presence on screen for the next 2 decades. He made multiple appearances on The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and appeared in 5 episodes of Family Ties, including its 1982 pilot. He also took on roles in TV movies, such as an ABC after-school special, the Ricky Schroeder drama Two Kinds of Love, and Barry Manilow's musical Copacabana. Petlock played a pathologist in the true crime miniseries The Atlanta Child Murders and appeared in the Emmy-winning Baby M in 1988. One of his few feature film roles was in the medical school drama Gross Anatomy, where he played an interviewing professor. Throughout the 1990s, he continued to take on guest roles on television, with his final appearance being in the crime drama The Practice in 1998. John Petlock passed away on November 16, 2020, leaving behind a legacy of diverse and memorable performances. Zsa Zsa Gabor as Sonia L'Amour. Long before reality TV stars, Zsa Zsa Gabor was a captivating force in Hollywood. With her flamboyant personality, jet-set lifestyle, and 9 husbands, she could command attention like no other. While her sister Ava charmed audiences on Green Acres, Zsa Zsa carved her own path. Yes, she acted, but her true talent was captivating audiences. Her elegant bearing, Hungarian accent, and juicy life stories kept her in the spotlight for decades. Even in her later years, Zsa Zsa remained a firecracker. The infamous incident where she slapped a police officer cemented her place in pop culture history. Though she eventually faded from public view, she left behind a legacy of glamour and intrigue. Zsa Zsa Gabor's death in 2016 marked the end of an era. For over 6 decades, she sparkled brightly as a symbol of old Hollywood charm and a reminder that fame can be built on more than acting talent. Carmen Philby, as Mike Forget Fancy Awards shows, Carmen Philby was the king of quirky characters in everyday movies and TV. Born in Massachusetts in 1923, this guy even served in World War II. Talk about living a life. Early on, the comedy bug bit him. He and a friend teamed up, traveling around and cracking jokes. Hollywood came calling in the late 60s, and for the next 40 years, Carmen filled our screens with all sorts of funny characters. He had a knack for bringing these often down-on-their-luck guys to life with his humor and charm. Sadly, we lost Carmen in 2003, but his legacy of making us laugh with his one-of-a-kind performances lives on. The Fresh Prince may have left Bel-Air decades ago, but his legacy lives on. Want to see how the Banks family stacks up against other iconic sitcom families? Subscribe now and get ready for an epic sitcom showdown coming soon. Until then,